Hi, I'll be demonstrating our ServiceNow and ECM integration for HR case management. We're currently logged in as an HR employee inside the ServiceNow HR portal. Through the service portal, he is able to view his own employee workspace within ECM by clicking on this employee workspace button. He'll be redirected to another page which contains an external view to his own employee workspace in ECM. And as a note, each HR employee will have their own corresponding workspace. And so, upon loading, he'll be presented with a folder view of the workspace, which contains documents that are filed under him. For example, the hiring and onboarding folder contains documents from when he was first hired, like his resume and offer letter. He'll be able to directly preview these documents in this view as well. For example, he can view his own resume, and a pop-up will show on the side to allow for a direct preview, and he can go ahead and close that. You can also see the overview of his own workspace. From this tab, he can see the team members he's associated with, like the HR admin, and he can also see relevant metadata for him and related case workspaces. These case workspaces are created during the process of filing an HR request, with a workspace being created for each one. And with the creation of a case workspace, it will be automatically linked to the employee workspace, allowing it to be both visible and accessible from here. And speaking of HR requests, the HR employee is planning on creating a new one through the service portal. More specifically, as he's currently moving homes, he wants his address to be updated. So he will go back to the homepage of the portal and click on General HR Request, where he'll be taken to a form, and he can go ahead and choose the HR service that he needs. He'll go with General Inquiry as that fits his needs the most, and after selecting that, he'll write down his inquiry. With that, he can also upload an information change form that he already filled out earlier by clicking on the Add Attachments button, or he will drag and drop the form that he filled out. And he can go ahead and submit. With the request created, he'll be taken to a new page. You'll notice that the request has now been assigned a case ID, also including the attachment that was created earlier. Like mentioned before, a new case workspace was created behind the scenes and automatically linked to this HR request case, which could be accessed through the ECM workspace tab. So let's give it a quick refresh and go open up that tab. And compared to the employee workspace shown before, case workspaces have a different folder structure. This is because these workspaces were built off different templates. These templates allow things like the definition of the folder structure and what metadata will be applied. Speaking of metadata, the HR employee can also look at the overview and see that the metadata applied is different as well. As can be noticed, when the case was created, it read values from the HR request record in ServiceNow and copied it over to the ECM workspace. And this could be seen from fields such as the case ID, and the description fields, which was what the HR employee wrote down earlier in that form. So now the HR employee will need to wait. So let's now switch over to the agent who will work on this request. Switching over to the perspective of the agent, we're now logged in as the HR admin, who is currently in the HR management experience in ServiceNow. He has a list of currently open employee cases, and you can see the new one that was just created at the top here. Opening it will give him a more detailed overview of the case, and he can also access that same workspace in ECM by opening up this ECM workspace tab. With the workspace now visible, he can upload documents relating to this case for the HR employee to view. For example, the HR admin has now retrieved the form and verified that the employee has changed addresses. He'll upload an approval letter stating that his request has been approved. So he's going to go down to the correspondence folder to drag and drop that letter. With the letter uploaded, he can write down a comment, which will be visible to the HR employee. He immediately realizes, though, that he needs to make a correction in the letter. So he's done just that with the same file and now needs to upload a new version of the document in ECM. He can just drag and drop that file again with the changes, and a conflict will happen. He can simply just add a new version to the conflicting file and do an upload. With that, a new version of the letter with corrections applied is now uploaded, and this could be seen from the comments as well, as it's logged here. And quickly viewing the letter, the HR admin will now need to file the attached form under the HR employee. And this means that the form will be moved to the employee's corresponding workspace in ECM. And as stated here, I've removed your address change. Your form will be filed in your records. So we can do that by clicking on the Classify Attachments button at the top, and a modal pop-up will appear. We'll first have to select a center of excellence for the attachment to be moved to. In this case, we'll do HR Workspace Administration case, and afterwards you can start classifying the ServiceNow attachment. For each attachment, a document category must be specified in order for it to be moved to the right folder in the employee workspace. So he's going to select Profile Update, which has already been selected, and he'll go with Employee Information Update Documentation. And now he can classify the selected attachments, which will refresh the page. And after a moment, a new activity note will appear, which states that the attachment has been moved to Content Server. And it contains a corresponding link. This link will take them directly to that document as it appears in ECM. So this is a form that was filled out by our HR employee. Going back to ServiceNow, the HR admin can actually see where that document was placed in the HR employee's workspace. Now going to the Overview tab, he can go down to see the related workspaces, finding the workspace under the HR employee and accessing it. In which he can go to the documents and see everything filed under the HR employee. Though he doesn't have time to go through every single folder, so he can either use filters or search for the document. With filters, he can filter based off a variety of fields, such as the content type, document type, and who the owner is, things like modified date as well. But he's just going to filter for documents. And the corresponding address change document or form was found here. Closing that, you can also further refine the filters if required. For example, he wants to filter for just the HR employee photo, so he can just filter for document type, images, and for images, he only wants photos. And it will only filter for the HR employee photo. Like so. But just to show where that form was exactly stored, it's under the personal information folder. So I'm going to clear out the filters and go ahead into the personal info folder. And that's where that form was. So depending on what was chosen in the classify attachments pop-up, it will end up in the relevant folder. Lastly, if any time the HR admin finds the view too cramped, he can click on the maximize button at the top here to take him directly to the workspace in ECM. And this offers the same functionalities as the view in ServiceNow, but with increased screen real estate if that's required. And as an aside, since he's already in ECM, he can also see all the other HR cases which are organized in a single folder. So he just went ahead and switched tabs. If we give it a quick refresh, you'll see the recently created HR case along with all the other ones that have been worked on in the past, and he's even able to access them. So for example, this general inquiry from the same HR employee. So when it comes time to actually update the HR employee's info on file, the HR admin might need a refresher on the exact company procedure to do that. So he's going to open up the Advanced Agent Assist widget, which is capable of searching across the ServiceNow knowledge base or ECM itself. The procedures are outlined under an employee handbook stored in ECM, so he's going to make a query to search for it. And with the result, which will appear any moment now, you can view it by clicking on it. And as it's stored in ECM, it will take him directly there to preview. And with the preview opened up, you can refer to this handbook for the correct procedure in updating employee info. And on another note, the search within the HR service portal within ServiceNow is also capable of searching in ECM, much like the Agent Assist. So let's quickly show an example. Say that the HR admin is looking for the handbook again, he can make the same query as before. And as shown here, it's searching against the OpenText KB, and it will give the same result. And you'll go ahead and view that document again. So finally, going back to the HR case record, the work was finally done, and the case can now be closed. So he will click on Close Complete to finish the case, and that is that. Switching back to the HR employee's perspective, he'll now notice that the HR case is now set to Close Complete. And you can also view the comment that was left earlier by the HR admin when he submitted that approval letter in the correspondence folder, in which he'll give final thanks. So this concludes the ServiceNow and ECM integration for HR case management.